Poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Tactical Tuesday on Chasing Poker Greatness with your hosts, Brad Wilson and Jon Chai.
Welcome, my friend, to another episode of the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast. As always, this is your host, the founder of ChasingPokerGreatness.com, Coach Brad Wilson. And today is Tuesday, and unlike last Tuesday, it's a tactical day. We kind of took last Tuesday off, Jon?
Yeah, you want to tell them what we're doing?
We were driving in our car to the airport on Tuesday. That's
true. That was last Tuesday. I thought we were doing something more exciting. But why were we driving to the airport?
Yeah, because we were coming home from our wolf retreat in Cherokee, and it was a good one. We've had 2 in the books now, and I didn't think number 2 could live up to number 1, but it actually did, because one of us went deep in the main event again.
Wasn't me.
Jon went very shallow.
I went deep for me. I made it to level 3. That was...
Yeah. It's good to have goals.
Yeah.
You know,
I gave myself a pat on the back on the way out. I was like, this is way above expectation.
Well done, me. Yeah, so essentially went to Cherokee this time. There were, I believe, 6 wolves, 2 coaches, and then some other villagers who, you know, we have close relationships with that met up with us, hung out with us, stayed with us in the cabin, and we played some poker over the course of like 5 days. And one of my internal goals before we went was that I was going to be spending time with the wolves. I wasn't going to play any cash game. I was going to play one tournament, and I thought that would lead to spending more time with everybody, but it didn't, because that one tournament kind of just kept going and going and going.
Yeah, no, it was a good reason, good enough excuse for not spending time with us. I think we were all okay with it. So I guess, like, just to give the audience a little bit more context, we went to Cherokee, North Carolina for a retreat for all the guys in the wolves that could make it. They were running a WSOP circuit event there with a $1,700 main event. That was kind of like the big thing that most of us were planning on firing. Brad, there were 1,502 entries, I believe. There's like 300K and change up top. Brad actually final tabled it and finished 7th.
Yeah,
7th for 60K. So yeah, that was the deep run that we were alluding to a couple minutes ago. Yeah, all in all, a good trip. I was really impressed by the whole setup in Cherokee. I thought I was a little worried that we're like kind of just going in the middle of nowhere, but the property was like really nice. It was brand new, and like, you know, everything that was like related to the tournament and poker was run really smoothly.
Yeah. It's a good stop. I mean, it's a good place.
Yeah, it is really
Clearly,
good.
I'm biased. I can't really say that I'm unbiased, because like the last 2 times I've gone, I've gotten like 25 and now 7.
Yeah.
So
you can trust me, someone who lost money last trip and still had an enjoyable experience. So
yeah, I think every single one of the wolves won. Jon was the only loser on the trip. So
yeah.
Give it up for Jon.
Too much bowling. You guys are probably wondering what this photo of Brad just menacingly looking at someone is doing up here. But we wanted to kind of just also, we had a bunch of photos taken during the trip, like not just poker stuff. We did tons of other stuff. We pretty much gambled on anything that you could imagine gambling on.
Yeah, I keep telling Jon how friendly I am at the poker table, and he's like, "Dude, look at this!
Look at this guy. Would you want to play poker with this guy? Come on."
I'm a little nervous about that guy, honestly. I'm a little nervous if I see that guy. I'm not even in a hand. Nobody, like, I'm just like sitting there.
You can't see the belt because our faces are blocking like the rest of the photo, but there's no hand in front of Brad. He's just watching some poor guy.
This is my resting face. I'm just paying attention. Like, when I was in high school, I would be walking from class to class, and my sister's 3 years younger than me. So she's freshman, and I guess I was a senior. And her friends would be like, "Why is your brother so mad all the time?" And I'm like, "I'm never mad. Like I'm like perfectly happy and upbeat, and like I
Just
didn't
like in this
realize."
photo.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm totally happy and upbeat. Can't you tell? It's just it's
I'm so
resting
excited
Brad
to be
face.
here.
It's resting Brad face. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't make it look anything different. I promise I was fairly fun to play with. I was actually like kind of had a cold, like a little head cold that I was like recovering from. So on day 1 specifically, I was like quite tired. I'm gonna make a bunch of excuses for
Yeah.
looking very menacing right there. But
Just
you know
like
what? Hey man, I don't care. Like if that's my intense look, that's my intense look. Let's go. The podcast listener is like, what on God's earth are you talking about? We can't see any picture. Yeah. Go to youtube.com/chasingpokergreatness. You can see the slideshow for yourself. And Jon wanted to, because Jon is, Jon is Jon. He wanted to go through and.
Oh, look, you look a little bit less.
I look a little bit less there. Yeah.
You made day 2, so you're happier. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I'm happier. My wife was like, I saw a picture of you wearing like red and blue, and like, what's wrong with you? Who dressed you? So she told me that apparently that's not what you should do. Although, like, I thought, it's red and blue and I'm white. So it seems like a very patriotic setup for me, right?
It was obvious to me what you were going for. I'm actually surprised.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know why she doesn't get it. Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, more.
It's when you make it to day 3 of the tournament, you get more opportunities for photos of yourself, apparently, which is why.
Yeah. And then this was the gang. A lot of the group playing PLO against each other for some ungodly reason. Again, we don't train, we don't practice, so naturally, let's all go play a game.
Everyone else in the game was very happy about the game.
Oh, I can't even imagine. I'm like minding my own business in the tournament area. Like Jon, who's like fun dad, is out there like, oh yeah, let's play PLO. You guys want to play craps? I'll teach you. Let me show you how to play craps. Like Jon's fun dad. I'm like mom who walks in on her kids just eating cookies for breakfast and like, what on God? What are you guys doing? Like, stop it. Get your act together. What are you doing? Despite burning a full night of playing poker, we still did quite well in the cash game streets. So
I think the Wolves just like they crushed it in the live cash live cash streets. It's like it was to the point where I was like, yeah, you guys probably just shouldn't play any of these tournaments. It's just way too costly for you guys to.
Yeah, so let's put everybody in the same PLO game. That's not costly at all. Let's see.
Hey, look how happy they are to be playing with 4 cards.
I know. I'm just giving you shit. Everybody likes. I mean, I think that game players in general enjoy
new games,
doing something that's different than what they always do. Like, I think it's just a fun challenge of like learning something new and experiencing something new. So there is value in playing the PLO. Especially for the 2 regs who were in the game. There was massive value for those guys.
I'm pretty sure one was losing. So
Nice. And
bowling.
Alluded to bowling experience where somehow I lost 500 bowling the first night, just coming up with random odds. I don't know. I gave you 5-1 on bowling a strike, and you hadn't bowled a strike the whole game, and you like last frame, last ball, you just freaking gin a strike, and
it was a $250.
It was
bowl of the bowling ball.
You can call it whatever you want. It's you're the king. You're the king. And yeah, more bowling pictures, and us back at the cabin playing Big 2, which you introduced us to, and clearly we obsessed over finding the optimal strategy in about 10 seconds, and I made 2 mistakes where I could have won, and honestly, it tilted me more than busting out of the game. It's like, oh, there's a path to victory, and I just punt. Oh, Like I just it's like I can't even live with how do I live with myself in those moments? I don't know. I shouldn't be. I should still be somewhere like punishing myself. But yeah, that's all the photos from the slideshow. It was a great time, good trip. Going deep was nice. It was a good experience. I think there were a lot of takeaways that are positive moving forward. Yeah.
And when are you guys gonna be back?
The next Cherokee one. It's gonna be in February.
End of February.
You won't be there, but I'll be there. I feel obligated to go now. I kind of have to go. Like I'm increasingly setting the bar a little bit higher, like 120, 60 something, 25, 7. Now I've got to do better than 7th place. It's I really wish I would have just won, because then
you wouldn't have to go back.
Well, I wouldn't. I guess I would just have to win the next one, right? That's where the bar would be. I just have to win every single time.
Yeah. Come home with a ring in February.
Yeah, ring in February, plus the $350K, which is more valuable to me than the ring, I think.
Pretty sweet.
I wear one wedding ring. I don't really care so much about the ring. A bracelet, maybe a bracelet. That one, those feel better.
Heftier.
Heftier. I grew up WSOP bracelets. They were like the thing. The ring is kind of like, oh, we're doing these like secondary events, and we're giving you something that's like not as good as a bracelet.
Right. All right. Can I talk about some hands from the tournament?
Yeah, let's look at a couple of hands from the tournament. This is Tactical Tuesday, so I guess there should be some actual tactical content within the episode. And also super pumped for everybody who came up to me and introduced themselves, and just it was a great experience. Again, I know I'm biased because I did well in the tournament, but I feel like even if I didn't do well in the tournament, it would have been an incredible experience. Yeah. And by the way, like, there's a lot of like times in the podcast historically that I've talked about tournaments being so tough for me because of the stalling. Just the stalling element drives me insane. These Cherokee events, man, people play. They want hands per hour. Like, there's like very minimal, like obvious stalling for like a minute. You know, they'll take like 11 seconds or something to make a decision. That's their version of stalling. So it was a good experience. Everybody was fun to play with. We actually had one table. So this table that we're actually going to break the hand down on, I'm going to go to the replayer now if I can find it here in my thing. Let's see. Yeah, so this table that we're playing at, that we're going to talk about, actually, when we bagged, this was on day 1, near the end of day 1. When we bagged, one of the people that I was playing with he was sad. He's like, wow, I'm sad. Like, I don't want this game to end. Let's go play cash. You know, I don't want this table to break up. And that it feel like, again, I've got limited experience in tournaments, but it feels pretty rare that when you bag for day 2, the table's sad that the game like is gonna end, that it's gonna be broken up. He just like was enjoying himself so much that he wanted to keep playing. Like, that's really cool to me.
Yeah, that
honestly.
is very cool.
That's like a really, really high compliment as to how everybody was feeling and just the overall vibe of the table. Like, I take a lot of pride in that. That's just really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I've never gotten close to bagging. I've never just heard someone like say anything like that at a poker table, where they're just like, unless they were just like crushing and just like winning, you know, every hand in a cash game, and they're like, yeah, I wish this could go on forever. Yeah, I've heard that, but like, I've never heard just someone who was
super good dude.
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
Super great guy. And if you're listening to the podcast, and he's actually going to be involved in these hands today, so if you're listening to the podcast, like, really enjoyed playing with you as well. And with that said, let's get into the hands.
All right.
I think both of them have him involved, ironically. So we have a Queen 5 offsuit. You want to take the lead here, break down the action?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so tournament hands, we're 80K. We start the hand 80K effective. The blinds are 2,500, 5K with a 5K big blind ante. I think we're playing 8-handed for both hands. I think this
it's
hand's
9-handed, but
Oh, okay.
You just didn't add the extra player.
Oh, right. Tournaments, 9-handed.
Yeah.
Under the gun, folds. MP folds. We get a min open, pretty standard in tournaments. So open raise to 10K from the low jack. The cutoff calls to 10,000. Button folds, small blind folds. Brad has about 15 big blinds left in a stack with a queen of hearts and a 5 of diamonds.
Yeah.
I'm
Do we
struggling
wanna
to
talk
see
about-
how there's going to be more to talk about in this hand, but
Yeah. We mentioned we have the queen 5 off, right?
Yeah.
So a little context building up to this hand. One part of this that is actually kind of a funny oversight on my part. So I had been oscillating between like 170K chips and then like down to like 90 and then back up. So I'd been like going back and forth.
between 15 and 30
And-
big blinds.
Yeah, between like 15 and 30 big blinds. I'm pretty sure that I had recently lost like 100 or 150K chip pot with like queens against ace 9 off. And I didn't know exactly how many chips I had. Like I hadn't counted my chips before the start of the hand. So me having 75K, I actually thought that I had like 110 or something. I thought I had more chips than I did. But essentially what happened was the low jack who opened the hand, I preface this by saying we were a very talkative and lively table, right? Like we were all having fun and getting along.
Yeah.
One of the players said something to the low jack who opened, and the low jack essentially verbalized like, "Oh, this is a good one."
Like
this
he
is a good
pointed at
hand.
his hands and
Yeah, he pointed at his hand and he said, "This is a good hand." And so like, it's like, classic Mike Caro of like weak, strong, weak. It just he's saying he has a good hand, like literally verbally saying it. So I am pretty confident that he doesn't, in fact, have a good hand. It's probably something like 6-8 suited or 7-9 suited or Jack-9 suited. Those are like the hands that I think you would say that about. Not like aces. I don't think you would say anything if you had aces.
or even like king queen off.
Probably not king queen off. It's more like a fun hand, right?
Right. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like 8-6 suited is the fun hand. Like
This is a good one. That was sort of what I thought, and so I discounted the cutoff as like trapping. Cutoff was in the mix, but I just didn't think they would be trapping here. So I just like went with my read and rammed the queen 5 off in the middle. I actually made the decision before I looked at my cards that I was just going to be jamming here because I thought it was a good spot.
Yeah. How long did it take the low jack to fold?
He asked for a chip count, and that was when I pushed my chips out there. The dealer counted it down, and the dealer was like at 75K, and I'm like doing the mental math, going, "Oh shit."
You might just call it off with 8-6.
He's actually like getting a decent price here. I made a mistake. I think this is a little scarier than I thought it would be. He might be priced in a call. But who knows? I probably could have probably have a decent amount of equity even if he did call with the queen 5. And just as it's just so I ram it in. It's actually 75K, but whatever, John. And then the cutoff actually tanked too because also getting a good price.
Yeah.
And he said he had like Jack 10 suited or something.
Yeah.
Was just like considering just calling it off.
Yeah.
But mercifully folded. And then I couldn't help myself and showed the queen 5. I don't know why I did such a thing, but I did do it. I don't think it's plus EV.
Do you think it has something to do with like the friendliness of the table, like the chat? Like it felt more. It wasn't like a I got you kind of thing. It was like a fun thing. Like
it was like, oh look at this. Like, we just stuck it in with the queen 5. Like we're getting this game out of the muck. So yeah, it wasn't like a needle type thing. It was just a thing. So anyway, I show that hand, and then we have like a hand that is connected to this exact spot because me showing was kind of like Inception.
It's just a setup.
By accident. It set up something that happens in the second hand. And so we're going to go to the break, and then we'll talk about this bigger pot. So stick around. Postmortem Cherokee trip.
Are you a lone wolf searching for the ultimate pack? The CPG Wolf program is a close-knit brotherhood hell-bent on one thing only: chasing poker greatness. Powered by bleeding-edge wolf strats and led by Coach Brad and his lieutenants, CPG Wolves are systematically prepared for almost any spot they'll encounter on the green felt. If you want to plug into an elite team and have a step-by-step game plan to realize your full poker potential, you can apply at cpgwolves.com. Space is limited, and the pack is only as strong as its weakest member. So only the hungriest, grittiest, and most driven will be accepted into the program. Applications are open at cpgwolves.com.
All right. We are back from the break. This postmortem of Cherokee. Jon, let's not dance around. Let's dive into this second hand. So go ahead and start breaking down the action.
All right, so Brad's in the big blind, 10-3 of diamonds, under the gun folds, MP folds, hijack. Looks like we're playing the same blind level, 2.5K, 5K blinds. Hijack.
It's like an orbit later at the same exact table.
Yeah, makes sense. You're in the big blind again. Hijack makes it 10K. Cutoff, which is who is the same guy that went into the tank after under the gun, or the original razor folded last hand, calls the 10K again. Looks like he's just kind of getting in there a lot, just based on these two hands, I guess.
I don't know that it was necessarily like getting in there. I think both times he probably had something playable. It is just like kind of coincidence. I'll speculate, like, I guess in after this hand is over as to like what I think villain was doing. But so small blind folds. I don't even know if this is supposed to be a call, but I'm getting like 6.5 to 1 pre, and it's multi-way, and my hand is suited, so I just don't really fold in these spots. I was like defending very, 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 very liberally. I really just can't see how it could be that big of a mistake to defend getting such a good price pre. So yeah, like 10-3 suited, multi-way. I think like heads up, it's like a slam dunk defend. Multi-way is what makes me a little bit unsure about it, but I'm still going to be calling the 10-3s moving forward. So I defend getting 6.5 to 1. There's 37.5K in the pot. The flop is okay. I kind of flop gin for a 10 and a 3. Queen 9-6 all diamonds. I flop a 10 high flush. And I guess we'll start the action here.
Okay, so we're 25 big blinds effective. There's 8 big blinds in the pot, so we have like SPR 3. Ooh. Almost feels like you could just go almost any which way you want with this hand here. I think donking is a cool idea. I think just checking and kind of like playing in flow is also fine. Like there's so many different ways we can get 25 big blinds in the middle once we flop a flush with SPR 3 that.
Yeah, there are a lot of different options. Monotone board specifically, I thought would probably be c-bet a little less frequently by the PFR, and I think that like flop checking through is probably like a worst case scenario for my exact hand in this exact spot.
Maybe we can make like a slightly like a player pool based read here. Like I think on, let's say, Queen 9-6 monotone, I'm playing in a 6 max cash game online. I would expect the PFR to check with almost range on the flop, especially multi-way. One of the things that I think that I noticed playing the live MTT was that it just felt like everybody just c-bets almost right on like every type of board.
So that may be true in level 3, but
the players get a little bit better at level 26.
Well, chips are less abundant by the higher levels. So like investing a couple of big blinds in a spot where you have very little fold equity is just like when you've got 150, it's a little bit easier to stomach, but as you have fewer chips, it's a much bigger deal. So I mean, while they, someone could have bet for sure had I checked, and I think actually somebody probably would have bet had I checked. I did just want to make sure that, like, yeah, I'm going to start out by getting a bet in the middle. SPR3, I think bet was like the easiest, most obvious path to getting the money in. So also think that, like, if I have ace X of diamonds, then maybe that's the same path that I would like to take, is just like give myself 3 chances to win by leading, betting turn, and jamming river. So like I thought it would be pretty easy to have, it seems like a somewhat balanced donking scenario here. So yeah, I just decided to lead a third, and multi-way, generally my bet sizes are just going to be going down, and then layer on top of like it being a monotone board. I think that just incentivizes me. I'm just supposed to bet like very small here.
Yeah,
a third might even be too big.
You also have 25 big blinds effective, so it's like, you'd be putting in like a third of your stack if you bet big, for example.
Yeah. I mean, big in this spot would be half pot. That would be like my big sizing, and small is like probably the typical one.
Quarter.
I do think I could have gone like a quarter, 9K. I ended up betting 12.
Yep.
I think a quarter would have been totally fine too, and maybe quarters even preferred, giving me more ammo down the line. So I bet 12K to 37.5. The PFR folds and the cutoff calls. So to recap, right now there's 61,500 in the middle. The flop was queen 9-6, all diamonds. I've got the 10-3 of diamonds, so I flopped a flush. I led, villain called, 61.5 in the middle. Now the turn is a 6 of spades, so pairs the bottom card, pretty non-threatening card. Villain's not going to have 9-6. They're not going to have queen 6. Maybe they have 9s full, and if they have 9s full, then congrats, you bust me out of the tournament, essentially, when I have a flush.
Yeah, so I have 9s full and quads, so that's it.
Yeah, 9s full and quads. So I clear, and I think like if I do lose, I'm going to be losing to like the nut flush too, that is slow playing.
Right. Yeah,
and that's another like just kind of thing that is, if it happens, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought that though if I did check, that villains like queen X would almost certainly check behind. Mm-hmm. So just really no thought of doing anything other than just going ahead and betting. So I sized up, bet half pot here. And villain thought about it for, as I said, people weren't really tanking, and this is the guy that's having a good time. So he thought about it for 7 or 8 seconds and just called.
Yep.
And the river is a 9 of spades. So the final double pairs the board. The final board is queen 9-9-6-6. Queen 9-6 all diamonds was the flop. There's 121.5K in the middle, and I've got 83K behind. And so I guess this is a decision point. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. I mean, I guess like the first thing we should talk about is when you bet the turn and the cutoff takes 7 or 8 seconds to call. Can you narrow down his range anymore?
I mean, I think it's a bunch of top pair. I think it's like ace of diamonds. It could. I wouldn't imagine that he has like ace 9 off with the ace of diamonds. Mm-hmm. He wasn't playing those type of hands pre-flop versus like a low jack open. So like I would really count out like ace 9 with the ace of diamonds. So like I think he's got a lot of top pair. I think he's got quads. I think that he's got nut flushes. And that's really what I would imagine his range to be, like king, queen, ace, queen jack suited, queen 10 suited, quad 6s, quad 9s, and then like, ace deuce, ace 4, ace 5, ace 7, ace 8 of diamonds.
Yeah.
Maybe like king 10, king jack of diamonds.
So, and like a lot, it sounds like from your description of his range, like this 9 of spades is actually a really good card, or like a pretty good card for us, because like
it reduces his combos of 9s,
right? And he doesn't have naked 9x,
3 to 1. Yeah, I don't think he has any 9x calling the turn bet.
Right. Okay. So sounds like we like the only hands that we're worried about are like just like the hands that we're trapping on the flop, like the nut flush and then the 2 combos of quads. I guess like the next question is like, do worse hands call? Flushes probably call. I don't know how many worse flushes he has. Like I wonder, like I would be a little bit suspicious that like he sometimes just raises flushes on the flop or the turn when you go bet. I do think most worse flushes will almost certainly call the river jam though. Thinking that like you likely just don't have very much naked 9x or 6x
right
on the river as well. I don't know what hand, like the category of hands that are worse than flushes. So I guess we're talking about like queen X
King,
here.
queen.
Like, yeah, what does that do versus a river jam?
I suspected it would call.
Yeah.
Again, this is one orbit after my queen 5. I just suspected that like my image was such that king queen's gonna really struggle here. I mean, the 6 and the 9 pairing are actually pretty good for king queen too, because they reduce, my combos of boats. So like from their perspective, it's actually like not bad just having like king queen here. If you have the king of diamonds, that's going to reduce my combos of flushes even more. So like I don't think it's like terrible or crazy to call with king queen here or queen jack or queen. I mean, they're all effectively the same right. category of hand, I think.
Right.
They beat my bluffs. They don't beat my value. So it's just pure bluff catcher.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think even like 9x on the turn is kind of effectively the same as queen x. Maybe even better than queen x, since I likely squeeze queens and don't know exactly if I squeeze 9s or not.
I see.
But yeah, so I in the moment and the flow of things, I felt like a queen was going to call.
Yeah, I think if that's what you think, then the river jam is just slam dunk.
I mean, am I going to check fold? Like that, if I check, what do I do facing jam? I just check fold a flush. I think I probably should, but I don't. I think that the majority of the time when I check, they're going to snap check back, and they'll just have a queen, and I'll be like, why didn't I go for it?
Yeah. So like, I mean, the questions that I was trying to ask, we're trying to get at like, are there enough worse hands that call when we jam?
I thought so. Intuitively, which is kind of the world I'm operating in tournaments, since I'm not nowhere near as studied in tournaments as I am cash games. Intuitively, I thought a queen could call.
Yeah.
So with all that said, I jammed. I have 83K back into 121. I ripped it. And when I say I got snap called, I mean I got snapped.
Like you thought you lost.
I jammed. He called so fast. I said, fuck. I got a flush. Like, the first word was fuck. Like, I mean, it took him like the snap, boom, just all in call.
Yeah.
I was like,
quads,
no.
really? Like,
yeah. So I was like, fuck, I got a flush. And he's like, flush is good. And he just mucked his hand and asked how much it was. Like, he didn't even know how much it was. He called me that quick. He didn't even just 83K. All right. Nice hand. And then he told me later on that
he didn't care how high your flush was, I assume.
He did not care at all. No.
Okay.
I said,
I'm just wondering, like, he could have snapped with 7-8 of diamonds, right? And like,
he could have. He said he had a queen.
Okay.
I mean, he said he had a queen. I just don't know which queen it was. I imagine that it's king queen. That was what I was alluding to pre-flop. That like, I imagine that he had a hand like a suited Broadway, queen jack suited, king queen suited, or king queen off, maybe even ace queen off. That he didn't 3-bet pre. I think all of those are reasonable. Like, I don't think he's like in there with queen deuce suited or queen 5 off, like some knuckleheads.
Yeah.
I think that like he just had king queen.
Yeah.
And he told me that like he made up his mind that he was gonna call on the turn. So he didn't. Yeah. He just like didn't have to like build himself up to it. He just knew he was calling, so he just called.
Yeah, I probably knew how much you had behind, roughly.
Probably did.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how many chips I have most of the time, so he's way ahead of me in that area. So that was it. Kind of the queen 5 jam, and then showing it just accidentally set up this hand where I flop a flush an orbit later. It was very serendipitous, very fortunate that I kind of destroyed my image and then got a value hand directly following, and then somebody had top pair.
Man, I like this guy even more now. The guy that you played against, that like he could just like get whacked like this and end the day and just be like, man, I had so much fun. Like it was, I just want to do this again.
Incredible. I mean, we're talking a lot, just chit chatting at the poker table throughout the whole tournament, and I verbalized multiple times that like this is part of it to me, like the journey, the ride, the conversations, like this experience means so much to me as I'm getting older. Just the experience of playing in this tournament, being thankful for the competitors who showed up and that I'm playing against, just being grateful for the energy and the experience. I mean, winning money is one thing, but the experience is something that can't really be replicated, and it's a once in a lifetime thing. And I'm very grateful for it. I could tell that this dude also is just enjoying the experience and having a good time. And, I value that. Just, I can't describe how much I value that just as a poker player and being in those environments.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think just like I'm feeling that's sort of the same thing you're feeling now that I've been, playing a lot more live poker in like the last month or so. And like, it's just being around that and like in that environment is it's really energizing and motivating. And yeah, I like being around it too.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just great having these experiences with my fellow man. Just can't wait to go back there and battle more and shake hands from the people that I played against and catch up. It's good.
Oh.
That's all I have. Those are the two hands that felt Tactical Tuesday worthy. They kind of flowed into each other. Unlike you, John, I actually have a theme when I'm
no, this was nice. This was nice having like a hand set up, another hand. But let's be real, like you don't get to run that hot most of the time. Like you don't get to show the bluff and then just flop a flush against the guy that you bluff.
Yeah. It's
that's what I'm saying. Like you got a theme, but like let's not forget how hot you had to run to.
I did.
To get this.
That's
theme.
true. That's true. But there were other hands that we could have talked about that had zero theme whatsoever.
I'm just jealous.
But yes, it's very, very lucky that you get a value spot directly after showing such a like wild all in jam. And I mean, you got to capitalize, right? You got to capitalize max value jam with double pairs on a 3 flush board. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's episode of Tactical Tuesday. Thank you for the podcast listener. Very grateful for your time and your energy. Click the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever it is you're listening. And
we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Chasing Poker Greatness. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Go to chasingpokergreatness.com to get the newsletter. Join the Greatness Village community, book a coaching session, or dive into the latest data-driven poker courses. Follow the show on Twitter @CPG Podcast.